Hey everyone, welcome back. It is time, right? Another episode of Small Business Stories. And I just love this because I am constantly finding new guests, new angles, new ways of, enjoying what's next and planning for whatever that might be. Today's guest, no exception, right? So we've got Giuseppe Grammatico, and he is all focused on franchising. So he's developed the franchise guide, and we're going to get into why or why not that might make sense for you as your next move. Hey, Giuseppe, welcome to the show.
Loralyn, thanks for having me. Looking forward to the episode.
Oh, yeah, right. Because I think we've been conditioned that, and I'm looking at Giuseppe for those of you that don't have the visual experience right now and you're dialed in through Spotify, iHeartRadio, or whatever your favorite streaming station is. Giuseppe and I don't have dark hair. We don't have that youthful, hey, just turned 18 kind of look,
I
right?
did have dark hair, yeah.
Right. Once upon a few decades ago, right? Same. But we've been conditioned that the only path forward is a job. And with ageism, very real, we have to look at alternatives. And I love how Giuseppe's framing the franchise guide as your next possible move. Giuseppe, talk to us about why people are overlooking this as a possibility.
Yeah, it's a very really good question, and I think the reason is number one, they've done polls, right? They found out that 75%, this is from the IFA, 75% of individuals that they polled were interested in owning a business, and of that group of that 75%, three-quarters of that group did not know where to start. And in 2026, I find that very hard to believe, and that just says to me that there's probably just so much information out there, people don't know what to do with it. So that's business ownership in general, followed by a franchise. Franchise equals fast food. That is not the case. There is 4,000 franchise companies in the U.S. We'll call it in North America, and they're not all fast food. There's basic, if you could think of an industry, there's a franchise. So I think there's a lot of this. I wouldn't call it head trash, but these preconceived notions of what they think it is, and or they believe you got to be a millionaire, and they kind of rule it out. So when we take a step back and look at what is out there, the investment is doesn't have to be into the millions, and you can run this business on the side simultaneously with your job, creating that safety net. People are like, "Oh, wait a second, I may have some interest. I'd like to learn more."
All right, so let's pull on a couple of things there. So I think it's always fun exploring what the art of the possible is. So when we think of franchising, we instantly, as you said, right? Oh, fast food, clearly. Oh, I want to buy into that taco truck or whatever it is. What other franchise opportunities are out there for the people that are thinking, wow, that's completely random and better fits my beat of being a little, on the tail of whatever the bell curve of normalcy is? Talk to us about some of the odd duck franchise opportunities.
Yeah, I mean there are so many new brands coming to market for those that are a good fit for that brand. So I like we call them the unsexy type of business. Think of Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe, that show that was on many years ago. So water and smoke restoration. You're cleaning up mold. You're cleaning up after a natural disaster, biohazard cleanup. We have franchises that are detailing personal jets and airplane hangars. Another big one, which is something I did not realize the demand, picking up dog waste, not just at your home, but at the HOA. Dog waste, all animal waste, we'll put it that way, keeping the grounds really clean. One of my favorites, expense reduction for small business. What business in America, what business in the world doesn't need to cut back on their expenses? There are brands that will come out to your business and help you reduce your expenses, by the way, at no cost up front, and then kind of do like a split on the savings. So if you can think of this business, if you put together those characteristics of what you want in a business, you will be shocked as to what is out there. And last thing on that, you don't need experience for these businesses. You need to have that skill set. So expense reduction has nothing to do with bookkeeping, has nothing to do with accounting, has nothing to do with expenses. It has all to do with relationships. So they're looking for people that can go to the chamber and network. We kind of dial it back to see who's a good fit for that specific brand.
Okay, before we get into the whole fit, not fit thing, let's pull apart some of the ideas. So,
Mhm.
I would think, right? You don't need a lot of experience scooping animal waste. And I'm thinking, says the Canadian, right? Canadian geese, goose poop,
Yeah.
right? It's everywhere. No one wants to step in it. It's very, very unglamorous. Per Micro, I loved that show, The Dirty Jobs.
Yeah.
He really dug in there. And like most of us that have reached this age, we've done some things that, yeah, right, still give us nightmares and we shower after we think about it, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
And so when we think about some of those opportunities, let's get into what could work. Like what defines a good fit for somebody to buy into a franchise and also contrast it with what would be the kind of maybe some warning signs like, hey, Laurelyn, maybe you're not really suited to be a franchise owner. Talk to us about that split.
Yeah, so let's talk about let's do it in order. So number one, are you a good fit to own a franchise? Number one, you need to be able to follow systems. If you're buying a McDonald's, you're not going in to change the menu. As silly as that sounds, an extreme of an example, that's a major red flag for someone looking at any franchise. You're going in following the system. That includes the marketing. That includes everything they offer because they have figured out a way to do business. May take a little bit of time to get moving. But you need to follow the system to a T, especially in the very beginning. And then you have that autonomy of how you want to market and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. Number two, you got to have money. This isn't a midnight infomercial, no money down. You know, I don't even know if that truly even exists. So a franchise requires skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, what risk are you taking? So you need to have, I always recommend a bare minimum 50,000 in liquidity, 150,000 net worth. That includes your home. Liquidity includes investments, cash, checking. There's quite a bit there, but you need to have some skin in the game, not just to invest in the franchise, but also it takes a couple months, depending on the type of business, to get rolling. You need to have some cash reserves to get that business going, simply you need to be clear and have some type of time frame of at least, I would say, 6 months or less to make a decision. And the reason I say that, and people sometimes roll their eyes when I say this, the reason being is if your intention is to own something in a few years, look at in general terms. Don't look at specific brands because what usually happens is the brands sell out, right? It's like you find a home you like and you tell the homeowner or the real estate agent, I'll buy it in 2 years. Doesn't work that way. So if your time frame is really far out, I would say start the process, but don't, go into the brands because more than likely won't have any availability. So those are kind of some entry level, where you start. And then from there, it's all reverse engineered to exactly what you want your business to look like. Forget about the brands, forget about the industries. Look at what this business looks like. Number one, this is the big one. What is your role in the business?
Mm.
And there's some subcategories there, but what are you doing in the business? What are you good at? If you're introverted, afraid of your own shadow, you won't be able to do expense reduction because it's all about networking. But you can do something around maybe home services where the marketing and the call center are all handled for you, even including some bookkeeping services. So if you're extroverted, that's going to open up different franchise opportunities. Number two, how much time can you invest in this business? There's no such thing as a passive franchise. There's a lot of loose terms, semi-passive, semi-absentee, executive. It's essentially keeping your job and running this business on the side, not giving full-time effort. If that's your case, if you can't leave your job, we got to look for brands that allow for that. Many brands do not. So that also is going to help you scale down and kind of funnel it down to a smaller number of brands. If you're available full time, great. We'll explore those. We'll look at things like investment range. We look at things like where you're located. If you're in Canada, you're going to have a lot less options than you will in the US, just for whatever reason. I think there's 4,000 in the US. I don't know the exact number in Canada, and that's okay. We want to see what is available both in the country and then physically in the territory or location you're looking at. So once you add all these different elements to the mix, it helps us narrow it down to 3 brands in 3 different industries to help you compare and contrast.
Excellent. And so talk about Canada. So we're located here in the US.
Mm.
So many people are embracing the idea, oh, I'm going to go offshore. I'm going to be an expat. I'm going to buy one of those $1 houses outside of Tuscany and then spend $1 million renovating it over 6 years
Mm.
because you can't find contractors and get the paperwork done, soapbox. Or I want to go to Spain, Portugal. Are the franchises portable offshore?
Uh, some could be, if the business is up and running and you've established a team to where you are going to be removed from the business and you want to go overseas and manage it from afar or via Zoom, could it be done? Yeah, I don't think um, that's going to be kind of down the road is the way I look at it. You still have to launch the business, you still have to launch the team, so that may take several years before that move. Many of the brands would want you local to the business to get started just in case there's some turnover or something isn't working. But you need to establish a team, have the right people in place. If you're going to do that, you probably want a general manager with a piece of the business, piece of ownership. Maybe they own 25% so that you can manage from afar and be very clear with that general manager of the time change and difference, I should say, when you're available, what they are empowered to do, what your role is. It could work, but I would say down the road.
The other side of that equation is, can I take the franchise, the established brand that's operating tickety boo in the US and bring it with me to Spain or Portugal, Italy, or wherever expats are settling?
Short answer is probably not. A franchise has to register in all 50 states in the US. They have to register separately in Canada. There's separate franchise disclosure documents. So when you go overseas, can you transfer? Possibly, but they would have to have a franchise disclosure document and be registered in that country. So, if you're going to Italy, where I'm dying to go back, you're going to have to ask the franchisor, hey, do you have the possibility of getting registered? They may or may not, or that may be down the line. Or this is actually interesting. You may cover a small town here in New Jersey where I'm located and want to move to Italy full time. There may be the opportunity, and again, the agreements would have to be set up for a master franchise, which is one of the really exciting things I like to talk about, where you would actually own, maybe control the entire country of Italy, and your role would be to find the franchise owners in that country while you develop it. So it gets very technical. There's differences in culture, how you market, how you do business. I remember looking at some of the brand fast food in Japan and how they had to redesign the menu, redesign the footprint to make it work in Japan. So yeah, there's a lot of rules. So they would have to be registered, and you can contact any franchise company. They can let you know where they're registered and what availability they have. But not very easy, and not something I would say is a simple process. I would ask that in the very beginning of the process.
Oh, yeah. And so, as a Jersey girl, I've lived here for a long time. Hello, Jersey boy, right?
Yes.
There you go. So, we got to get that out of the way. Then,
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. So
yeah,
interesting.
me neither. I was like, I look and I don't really pay attention to people's
Mhm.
phone area codes or zip codes where they, because no one or exactly where their phone number or whatever says. I've had my phone number for 20, I don't know,
Right.
almost 25
Yep.
years now, and I've lived in a few states since.
Mhm.
So, yeah, whatever, right? But where I wanted to pull on that with this whole franchise and operating offshore is because leaving the country has become so popular, but I don't think people have the appreciation for how much complexity they're adding. And I'm not talking just time zones and trying to figure that out. Us work with offshore teams, and we figured it out. Sometimes it's a 2 in the morning for you, sometimes it's a 2 in the morning for them, right? That's how it
Right.
goes. But if you're creating a menu, you got to think, oh, my supply chain, how am I going to get all these materials here in Italy or in Spain or whatever I'm going to do?
Right.
There's that complexity, never mind the legal complexity. And the whole point of buying into a franchise is that you're reducing all that friction, at least a lot of it, of business ownership, right? So it's kind of counterintuitive.
Correct. Yeah, I mean that's a very good point. If you're getting any type of food, they need distribution. And the menus. Like we were in Sicily a couple years ago, just for fun. We went to McDonald's. We were at the Palermo train station, and they have half the menu was completely different, which was interesting, right? They even had alcohol, which was kind of cool. So they had beer. So yeah, it's again, it can be done, but it adds so much additional complexity. We have a brand focal point business coaching, and we were just talking about them, and someone was moving to Israel, and they're registered in Israel, and it's you go. We actually have already translated the franchise agreement in multiple languages and things like that. That's going to be a little bit simpler than bringing a fast food chain where you're changing the menu and the infrastructure. So yeah, it's really interesting, but it's fun to see how a lot of these brands started in the States and brought them overseas, and vice versa. We've worked with brands that started in Europe and they've come over to the States. So a lot of interesting stories.
Oh yeah, and the focal point coaches, I've worked with a lot of them,
Mhm.
and I've just always been impressed with the level of professionalism, the rigor that they bring to it. There is structure, thou shalt not do this or not do
Right.
that, right? It's
Mhm.
very, very clear. These are the methods that we follow. These are the ones we stick to. You don't get to have latitude. But anyway, coming off of that. So what are some of the red flags? Like, you are not cut out to be a franchise owner.
That's kind of what I mentioned in the beginning. Not cut out, to be not cut out for a franchise owner is that you don't have your financials in order, and there's no money to invest, and not what you say, what you do, which is basically can you follow a system? Part of what we do is a system, believe it or not. We have a an intro call. We have a consultation right afterwards. If you can't follow that simple process, I had someone on an intro call say, I just want to know, list all the brands that you recommend. How do I send you that if I don't know anything about you? So those are red flags for me. And usually we'll have a conversation. I'm never rude. We figure out where that's coming from. And usually it's because they're just maybe talking with a handful of people, or they're doing their own research and they don't value our process. And I say at that point we're probably not the best fit if you're not open to kind of taking a step back to figure it out, because there's a lot of preconceived notions as to what a franchise is. There's preconceived notions, and this is common, and I had the same preconceived notion that all roofing companies are run the same. And that's where you have to be very careful. So one roofing company has you on the roof and you're installing a brand new roof and the roof shingles and things like that. Another one never wants you on the roof. They want you working on the business, going to the network events and chamber of commerce. So don't look at roofing as an industry, because every brand will be run different, offering the same end service to the customer, but run differently from the franchisor side. So franchisee side. So those are the red flags from the if you flip it over and look for red flags from a franchise company, then yeah, there's definitely red flags there. And those red flags would be number one, you have an intro call with a franchise company. You just say you found them online, you call them, and they're already inviting you to come out to visit them on the first call. It's called Meet the Team or Discovery Day. That's a red flag. I don't care how excited you are about the brand and about the individual, you still don't know that individual. And there's a process. There's a process of learning about the role in the franchise, speaking with franchisees. If they're going very heavy on the sales and inviting you to a discovery day after the first call, that's probably a red flag. Not having a franchise disclosure document. I haven't come across any, but I've heard that they don't have an actual agreement. Take our word for it. No, there's an actual document that you have to receive, actually sign a receipt, and wait 14 days before you can invest in that business. And then other things would be just not getting the information, asking questions and no response. You're not getting the information needed. They're not sharing anything with you. They can share a screen and show you their portals and their back end. If they're not open, if they're extremely secretive and you're taking them for their word, those are some red flags. And I would say at that point in time, maybe take a step back and say, this isn't probably the right fit for me.
Do you get a lot of folks kicking the tires?
Yes, a lot. It's a big part, just they don't want to follow a process. They just want to learn about what's the hot franchise, not realizing that more than once they can't afford. You have to. Franchises are not purchased, they're awarded. It's not like you're going to a store and just buying whatever you can afford, you put it on the credit card. So you have to be a right fit. You got to go through the process and you have to be awarded the franchise. And that award also comes with the number of locations and or the number of territories depending on the business. So there's a lot there. So you want to make sure the fit's there, because why are you going to sign this 10-year agreement and not be a good fit? It's going to be a struggle for the next decade. So you want to make sure the fit is there. But yeah, there's people that they just want the hot franchise. Go Google it. People pay all the time to get on these lists, and some are paid, some are sponsored. It means absolutely nothing. I had someone say, "I want to look at this brand." I said, "It's not going to work in your case," and he got argumentative. And I said, "Well, hold on a second. The reason it won't work for you is because they're sold out in the state of New Jersey. We would have to look outside the state, and you told me you didn't want to leave the state. So." So a lot of these lists could work, right? But why are they at the top of the list? Were they sponsored? Is it because they doubled the number of franchises? Well, how does that help you? I mean, growth is great for exposure, but you want to make sure the franchisees are happy that they're making money, that they're buying more territory. So there's a lot that goes along with it that the portals don't capture. The portal asks you a bunch of questions, and you kind of say, okay, I want restaurants. Okay, these are the restaurants. When someone says I want or don't want a restaurant, I always ask why, and most people can't answer that question. So we dive a little bit deeper to find out. I don't like the number of turnover, so I want to reduce and not look at restaurants. Well, we do have franchise brands that, believe it or not, have a two employee model that you don't have the same turnover. You don't even have a brick and mortar aspect. So we kind of dive a little bit deeper to see if we should truly rule it out and find the reasons why they're not a fan of that specific industry.
Okay, got it. And so when I'm thinking about this too, I'm thinking, ah, are people, how are they reacting when you're starting to sense, you might not be a fit? Where I'm going, the thread I want to pull on is a lot of us enter into these kick the tires
Right.
sales calls, and we're like, oh, for the love of Pete, end it, wrap it up, right? Especially in Jersey, like we ain't got no patience for that, right? Like next, and we just want to
We
move
all know
on,
where we stand, which is a
right?
big difference. There's a big difference, but yes, it's
Yeah,
good and
and
bad.
so right, and a lot of them I've done that and had businesses and worked in the South, right, where it's all about yes, yes, continue to build the relationship. There, uh-huh. Jersey, it's like, yeah, okay, we're 3 minutes in. Like, I know this is not a fit. Are we done? Are we done yet? Because like I'm done, right? How do you start seeing those signs and then wind the call down quickly without being rude? Because none of us want that reputation. What do you do? What do you do, Giuseppe?
Mine is very simple. Our process, I think, is bulletproof. We do a 20-minute call with everyone. I go, we learn about them, and we answer questions, and I leave it to them. So I'll give everyone 20 minutes at bare minimum. Sometimes we go over. The call is free. Our service is free. We're paid a referral fee directly from the franchise company, so it doesn't affect your investment one bit. And I go, let's have a second call, which is the deep dive. If you're serious, but I'm not going to chase you. I want this to be a good fit for you. Sometimes it is, but the timing is off. We had someone going through a divorce. Someone had issues with their credit. I go, take care of that. I'm not going anywhere, right? I got two kids to put to college is my line I jokingly say. So basically, I'll send you a questionnaire and a podcast. The podcast goes through the entire process. If someone wasn't on the call, there's a 15-minute questionnaire. If you don't have time for the 15 minutes, I would advise possibly a franchise won't be a good fit because it's going to be at least we'll call it an hour a day. We'll round it up. So send back that survey. It doesn't expire whenever the timing is right. If the timing is right now, you send it in. We'll schedule our next call. If the timing isn't right, let me know, or I'll know by you not submitting that questionnaire that it's probably not a good fit. So someone did tell me I don't have time to do the questionnaire and set up a second call, and I go, you don't have time for a second call, simply because that call is an hour, the questionnaire is 15 minutes. Do the math, and when you speak with brands, you're going to spend, you're averaging about an hour a day in research. So if you don't have those 5 hours, how are you going to research the business, make a decision, and then actually run the business, which is going to be a hell of a lot more than 5 hours a week. So we see things. It's not what's said. It's the actions, and that's okay. This isn't a negative. Franchising isn't for everyone. Most people drown in fear, and you can only do so much. We're not here to sell franchises, which we don't actually sell anything. We coach, but I get it. The timing may not be right. Fear gets in the way. We can only do so much if we're setting up a call.
Right. And before I get into my next question, one thing I want to highlight, it was an experience I recently had.
Mhm.
I was looking at my YouTube and how to improve performance on my YouTube. So the podcast is doing well in all the streaming stations and doing up and down on YouTube. And so I said, how can I improve my downloads? So I followed this one opportunity, da 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 da, back and forth. They were very hard hitting. Here's this, here's this, here's this. We get onto the call. First question up. I need to know how much money you made last month. I'm like, the little hairs on the back of the neck went up. I'm like, do we need
Yeah.
to know this yet? I'm like, well, let's focus on diagnosing the problem and where it might be. It was pepper. Boom, question, 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 question. I need to know your revenues. I can't move forward. No, we're going to skip over that. Question, question. I need to know your revenues. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Time out. Getting more downloads has nothing to do with how much I'm earning. So what are we doing here? We need to wrap this up because you're making me really uncomfortable.
Right.
And I had to shut it down. It's very rare. It's only a couple of times in the last 10 years that I can think of where I had to shut down the other vendor. It was such a random experience. Anyway, so I'm still reeling from it. I had like PTSD.
I don't blame you. It's like let's figure out if there's a good fit. It almost sounds like let's and it's happened to me. What is the average referral? It's none of your business what the referral is, and they vary. I feel like the pricing is going to be adjusted accordingly because there's no pricing. There's a gentleman I used to follow. His name is escaping me right now, but they ask you answer, and he's like, be very transparent. Put everything on the website. Ours is easy. We don't charge anything, but if you have fees, give ranges, put something on there because if I had talked to a coach years ago, there was no pricing. We can set up a call. I go, give me a range. If you tell me it's 100,000 a year, I have no interest in working with you. I'm sorry. I just don't have no, and you can make the arguments all day long. I would not, unless it was a share, you guaranteed X and I paid a percentage, possibly. But let's just save everyone a lot of time. And I have not set up call. I've canceled calls due to non-transparency. So that's just, and I'm in the same boat as you, just not comfortable.
Bingo, bingo. I was bringing out my like Jersey girl there. I'm like, we don't need to know this because they are completely independent. What I earn and the number of downloads you can get from me are completely independent factors.
Correct.
And did
I
you
agree.
analyze my site? No, you
Right.
did no analysis. So why do you need to know this? We're done here. Toodles, right? And then I was like shaking because it was so intense. Anyway, back to this.
Wouldn't it have been easier if they just told you their pricing? Because then they're like, well, you're only doing 500,000. You probably can't afford the fee or vice versa. So just tell us what your pricing is and let myself figure out if we want to spend that kind of money. So
Right.
anyway,
Or
that's my
told
thought.
me.
Yeah.
Why did they need to know how much money I'm making?
Right.
Why? Right. It just like you just go like, that's
Transparency.
nefarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, next. Last question related to franchising here, Giuseppe. What if I buy in 6 months later? I'm like, ay, no, 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 this is not for me. Can I kick it back?
No. No, this is a business. This isn't I bought something at Costco and I'm returning it. So this is a business. My question to you is not how to give it back or to sell it. How do I fix my problem? And that's on you, right? That's on you to ask for help. Franchisor may see that you are struggling. Why isn't it working? Well, it's a lot of work. Well, every business is a lot of work. There's a lot of false expectation. In 3 months, I'm not making a profit. Well, a lot of businesses don't make money in the first 3 months. So it could be false expectation. It could be you're struggling. And I had someone who was struggling, someone I work with, and I said, why? And he gave me a whole list. I filled up a whole sheet of paper. And I go, okay, more importantly than these issues, when was the last time you spoke with the franchisor about them? And they said, we haven't. And I said, well, how do they know you're struggling in certain areas if you're not communicating with them? So, and the argument can be made backwards. If the marketing isn't working, the marketing agency or in-house marketing should pick up on that as well. So going back to the franchisor, figuring out, trying to fix it, giving yourself more time. The first year is the builder year. Like any business, franchise or not, you'll be up and running really fast with the franchise, but you still have to reinvest money back in. You can't pull it all out. You can't kill the marketing because you want to pay yourself extra 1 month. So treat the first year as a build a year. Talk to the franchisor if you're having issue. If you truly are miserable in the business, you give it the year and it's not working, there's nothing to give back. It's your business. So you would have to go back to the franchisor and it's listed in your franchise agreement. How do I sell my business? The franchisor can represent the resale. You can use a business broker. My advice to everyone is if you own a franchise, do never ever sign up with a business broker initially. It's the worst decision you can make, not because of they're a business broker. It's because there may be language in there that if you sell it through the broker or the franchisor sells it, both parties are getting paid. So you have to be very careful. So you can use a business broker, but make sure that you are in line with the franchisor to make sure there's not this double charge or double commission charge. But yeah, it happens. Not working, someone got sick, going through a divorce, relocating. Maybe you're moving to Tuscany, and it's only in the first 6 months, and it's just not going to work from afar. That's fine. Stuff happens. It's a 10-year agreement typically, but you can sell at any point in time. There's usually a transfer fee. That's the one fee, and whoever can pay, the buyer or the seller. And my advice would be contact all your neighboring franchisees. They may pick it up off your hands. You don't have to pay a broker fee, but you would just pay a small transfer fee. But it happens. But more important than I want to sell, figure out why, what's going on, work with the franchisor, and then if you do, they'll walk you through all their fees and costs and process to sell the business.
Excellent. Because I don't think people realize that there is a commitment. Because, like, as you've said,
100%. Yeah.
we've been oversold, right? Passive income. I really don't like mentoring young people that are 18 that they think, oh, yeah, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get passive income. I'll set some things up, build my offshore team. And within a few months, it's just running itself. It's itself.
It's yeah. Yeah, it's we get that, with the franchise. Unless you're Shaquille O'Neal and you're buying, 50 to 100 units and you have this whole team in place that's doing it for you. That has done it before. When you're coming in, there's no passive franchise opportunities. It's either full-time or what we call semi-passive part-time. But in that first entry stage, there's a lot of work involved. So it's you're maintaining a job. If you're working from home, you got some flexibility, but you want passive. My first career was in Wall Street. Invest in the stock market. That's passive. Invest in real estate syndication. That's passive. I don't think you'll get the returns that you'd get with your own business and a lot of the tax advantages, but sometimes a business isn't the right fit for someone. So I steer them towards invest in the S&P 500 and call it a day.
There you go. Giuseppe, where can people find you, the franchise guide? How do they get in touch?
I'm at the beach, so that's so you want to
What
the
part of the
Jersey
shore?
Shore,
What
Jersey
part of the
Shore,
shore?
Point Pleasant, New Jersey. Yeah, so
Uh,
we're down the shore, but which is central New Jersey. So yeah, if you want to have a question or learn a little bit more, GG, my initials, the franchise guide.com. I have a book called Franchise Freedom. It's my exact blueprint to finding your own business, building your team. There's a lot more to it of hiring your team, your accountant, your attorney, your CPA, and financial advisor. We have a podcast also called Franchise Freedom because it was very original. And there's about 275 episodes covering any topic. You just search a topic, you'll find it. And if you are ready, you could book a call directly on the website as well. There's FAQs, there's a lot of resources. I send everyone after a first call a full podcast on the exact process. So if you're going to do it alone, and there's you can do that. You don't need assistance technically to buy a franchise. I show you the exact steps to do so. We obviously bring a lot of value with the relationships and our fingers on the pulse. But yeah, it's a resource. So if you need assistance, it's free. If you want to do it on your own, the book and the podcast will guide you through it as well.
and congratulations on your podcast because we've got about the same number of episodes. It
Mm.
takes time, it takes work,
Oh
and
yeah.
something like less than 3% of podcast hosts get past episode 10. So if we're in the
Yes.
like approaching 300, woohoo, right? Cheers to
That,
us.
that is true. 10. I was shocked at just 10. I go, we're just getting go. I did 10 shows before we released them. So, but yeah, I heard that stat the other day. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's not so. Last question, signature question of my show. If we got to peek into that Jersey Shore closet of yours and there was some footwear or some other clothing accessory that personified who you, Giuseppe Grammatico, I'll try that again, who you, Giuseppe Grammatico, no wonder why you go by GG, the franchise guide, right? It's a lot of letters, blah, blah,
It's a lot of vowels.
right? If we looked into that closet, what are we looking at? Some footwear that represents you, your personality, and you're like, yeah, that is so GG. What are we looking at?
My reef sandals. Those are the sandals I wear. They have a high arch because I'm flat-footed. But all joking aside, I'm very lax. I'm not. I worked on Wall Street, had the suits every day, the ties, and I said, you know what, I'm going to build a business where it's very casual. It's not this dress to impress. I am who I am, and some people like to dress up, and some people don't. But this is I kind of built my business and my lifestyle around the way I envisioned it. So I always say, put it out there. It eventually will happen. But yeah, very laid back. Short, swim shorts, t-shirts, and my sandals. That's my wardrobe, and love it. And it's just very casual and laid back. Although we're not on the beach right now in February, it's we still have snow on the ground here. So
Yeah, Jersey got hammered this winter.
yes.
All right. With that, that is a wrap for our show. Thank you so much, Giuseppe of GG the Franchise Guide, for being on our podcast today.
Thanks, Loralyn. Thank you very much. Nice seeing you.